Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back into another episode of the North American Association of Cerebral Palsy Advocates, CP Advocate Chatline. I, of course, am Caleb Wells. I am the founder and chairman of the North American Association of Cerebral Palsy Advocates. And as always, I am joined by my partner in crime and Vice President Tanner Lynn. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the North American Association of Cerebral Palsy Advocates Chatline. My name is Caleb William Wells. I am the founder and chairman of the North American Association of Cerebral Palsy Advocates. With me today, I have Tanner Lynn, our vice president of the North American Association of Cerebral Palsy Advocates. And we are starting this podcast to shed light on our members and the triumphs that they have over cerebral palsy. So if you want to go ahead, Tanner, kind of introduce yourself and what we do as an organization.
Hi, I'm Tanner Lynn, and I'm the vice president of the association. And what we do as an association is we meet every week to discuss topics related to cerebral palsy and disabilities, and really have an open discussion about things that are happening in the disability community or in our members' lives, personally, or we just have an open dialogue about things that might need to be changed in the disability world. So
I like the word you use there. It's an open dialogue. It's a place where people can come and be a part of, but we call it our association family, and we don't take that lightly. We love everybody. We take care of everybody. And like any family, we fight, we bicker. But at the end of the day, we're really there to listen and be heard and have that place where we can go and that full support. When I started the association 3 years ago, the goal was to create a support group for adults with cerebral palsy. I feel that we have done that, and Tanner has come on about a year and a half ago, right?
Yes,
and
year and a half.
So, and we have really started to move forward and move into different things, and the podcast is a part of that. So we're really glad we're here, really glad that you're making us part of your week, part of your day, wherever you are, in your car, in your house, wherever. Right? We're really happy you're here. So we have a very special episode for you today. We're going to talk about CP as a whole, being that this is March, and we're recording here in the first week of March, which is World Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month. And I was realizing as we were going through and prepping for our next episode is that we've talked a lot about cerebral palsy and how it affects individuals and how to live with it, but we haven't really talked about the diagnosis itself. So I'm going to bring Tanner in here, let him kind of explain the diagnosis and what it is, and then we'll go into some facts and figures, and we'll continue to move on from there. So Tanner?
Okay. So CP has a wide variety of changes and functionality depending on the person. You can be diagnosed with CP and be able to walk, be able to talk, but some of us, like me, rely on a wheelchair every day to do things, and also some of us can do things more independently than others can. So CP really is a wide spectrum of a diagnosis. it basically just depends on the person. It's how it affects them. So
Yeah, and I think you hit on it very well. It is really a spectrum. Like most disabilities, it's a spectrum that we see. Usually, people want to say, well, you have CP, so you're in this box.
as we all know, March was CP Awareness Month, and CP Awareness Month has not always just been it's not always been a one-off. Oh, look at this! It's National Donut Day. It's always been a well-known fact that CP Awareness Month is a thing, and March is where everybody around the world knows can find out more about CP.
Yeah, and I think you hit on it. There is really what this is about. Everybody's always saying, like, why do we need, an awareness day for this, an awareness day for that? Like, why do we need CP Awareness Month?
Yep.
And it's not to like downplay anything, or it's not to be like, this is the only day we're allowed to talk about this. For me, I think it's really important to have these things so it's easier to facilitate a conversation. That's
exactly
what it comes down to, is the education part of it is the important piece of this. At the end of the day, we need to continue with that education piece, and having CP Awareness Month really helps bring that to the forefront.
And it also educates more and more people, regardless of if they know what CP is or not. So yeah.
Yes, and that's there. The fact that CP is the most diagnosed physical disability on the planet, and it doesn't get the same kind of run as some of the other disabilities, and there's not necessarily that much known about it, that much discovered about it in adulthood. We tend to find that there's a lot of pediatric education, a lot of pediatric
information.
Yeah, information and studies that happen with that. And understanding that we as individuals with cerebral palsy live into our mid to upper 60s. That's almost a full life. It doesn't affect our lifespan as much as originally thought.
Yeah.
And eventually there's going to have to be more research done about how it affects us in adulthood. And I think as we continue out through this year and going into next year's CP Awareness Month, we need to continue pushing that narrative, because that's the one that'll become important. Because yes, there are, there's kids born with cerebral palsy every day. One in every 323 live births, a child is born with cerebral palsy. Those kids just don't die at 18.
Yep.
We're all around. So
there needs to be more information for adults. And so
correct.
Yeah, I believe in the same way that you do, that there will eventually be more information that is readily available for adults to look into, because not everybody knows what's going to happen to them, and they're like, "Oh, I need to know this." Well, as an adult, it's a game of where can I find this information, because it's not all out there.
I mentioned that we kind of grew up in the shadows of each other, living a very similar life, and never knew that. So I think we'll just start with that. So we're both Midwest kids from the bi-state area of Missouri and Illinois. I know we've mentioned that in the past, but what you probably don't know about us is that we're both twins.
You know, the biggest thing growing up as a person with the CP is that you learn to accommodate certain things. Like if you want to do a certain task, you have to learn how to do it a different way. It might take you longer, but you will learn to adapt to it.
Just another day in the podcast land.
Just another day in podcast land. Today we are joined by a special guest, Miss Tylea Flores, who is an author, an advocate, a podcaster. She does it all. So Tylea, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, and then we'll get into this interview.
Hi, everyone. My name's Tylea Flores. I was born with spastic diplegia, the most common form of cerebral palsy, but I never allowed it to take away from my will and determination. I'm a self-published author, disability activist for cerebral palsy, and a radio show host.
So I want to get into a lot of that because there's a lot to unpack there, right? You're an author, you're an advocate, you're a podcaster. So how did you kind of come into this whole world of advocacy? Was it by accident? Was it planned? How did that happen?
Well, it wasn't planned. I had first found my passion for writing when I was 16. I published my first book. And then after that, I wanted to promote the book, right? But I was like, this book isn't related to cerebral palsy whatsoever. And then after I started promoting the book, I started to find contributing sites that would help me advocate for cerebral palsy, because I realized there were so many freaking misconceptions, man. Drove me nuts.
So what are those misconceptions that you feel about cerebral palsy?
That people with cerebral palsy can't do much of anything, that we are all the same, and we're not all the same. We all have a story.
I love that because, you know, Tanner and I both know that on this show, we talk about it all the time, that what's our term? We say viable, not vegetable. My partner in crime, live and in person, Tanner Lynn. How are you today, Tanner?
I'm doing good.
You're doing good. Doing good. It's great to be back in person with you and actually getting to record after 4 hours of trying to figure out how the audio would work.
There were so many great memories of this last year of the CP Advocates CP Chatline that we couldn't combine them all into one episode. But if you enjoy this, please consider subscribing, and we will have more episodes in 2024. Happy New Year, everyone.